President Trump says he will meet North Korean leader Kim Jong Un next month in Singapore. The historic summit, set for June 12th, comes after North Korea released 3 American men who had been held prisoner there. President Trump greeted them upon their arrival at Andrews Air Force Base. And as CBS News political correspondent OKeefe reports, their release left the president feeling optimistic.
President Trump announced the summit with Kim Jong Un on Twitter, saying, "We will both try to make it a very special moment for world peace." The tweet came hours after Mr. Trump led a dramatic overnight welcome ceremony for 3 Americans released by North Korea: Kim Dong-chul, Kim Hak-sung, and Tony Kim.
They've been through a lot, but it's a great honor. But the true honor is going to be if we have a victory in getting rid of nuclear weapons.
Secretary of State Mike Pompeo traveled this week to North Korea to secure the prisoner's release.
It was a very emotional experience.
State Department official Brian Hook was with him and among the first Americans to see the 3 men.
One of them walked up to me, shook my hand. I said, "Welcome home." And he said, "God bless America."
Administration officials consider the release an encouraging signal ahead of next month's summit. Vice President Pence spoke to Face the Nation moderator Margaret Brennan.
What Kim Jong Un has said publicly and in discussions is that he is prepared to negotiate to achieve complete denuclearization of the Korean Peninsula. Those words are important, but we'll see what they mean.
The former prisoners are in good health. U.S. officials said they did not find any significant physical or psychiatric concerns.
They're trying to return to a normal life. That's going to take time. And right now we're just taking it one day at a time, but they're very happy to be back in the United States.
Ed O'Keefe is at the White House. Ed, what's the status of the prisoners right now?
Hi, Elaine. Well, they're currently at Walter Reed National Medical Center in Bethesda, Maryland, just outside Washington. Doctors are monitoring them, hoping that they'll establish a new routine. They want to ensure that they're eating well and sleeping well. This is all called decompression time. Folks at the State Department also tell us that they have been in touch with their families, but they have not reunited with them just yet. There are concerns that doing so might cause additional psychological strain.
Well, this meeting is about a month away. Is that enough time to prepare for such high-level talks?
It's a good question, and one that certainly a lot of people here in Washington have been asking. White House officials seem pretty confident that they're heading towards a meeting that will be at least one day long in Singapore. And the vice president, in an interview with Face the Nation earlier today with Margaret Brennan of Face the Nation, said that essentially, the prisoner release is a good sign, and they believe that they're heading towards a pretty good conversation with him. But he, as our other officials, remains cautiously optimistic about what exactly would be achieved during this meeting next month in Singapore.
Right, because what are the president's main goals for these talks?
Well, just a little while ago here at the White House, Victoria Coates, who's with the National Security Council, was telling a handful of reporters that essentially, let me just read this to you, the president's goal is very clear, she said, the irreversible, verifiable removal of this nuclear weapons program, and that if he, President Trump, doesn't see material progress to that, there's not going to be, or not a deal for deal's sake. This has to be material progress. Again, that was Victoria Coates describing what the president expects to see, full denuclearization of the Korean Peninsula. Can you achieve that in one day with one face-to-face meeting with Chairman Kim? We'll have to wait and see, but certainly the stakes are high, and yet they're very encouraged by what transpired early this morning over at Andrews.
Well, Ed, separately, the New York Times is reporting that Homeland Security Secretary Kirstjen Nielsen was close to resigning after the president berated her in front of his entire cabinet. What do we know about that?
Well, apparently this happened on Wednesday during a full cabinet meeting in which he was venting his frustrations about his concerns with security along the U.S.-Mexico border. The Times says that Secretary Nielsen has since told colleagues that she was prepared to resign. A short time ago, she issued a written statement that doesn't entirely deny the report. She said, in part, quote, "The president is rightly frustrated that existing loopholes and the lack of congressional action have prevented this administration from fully securing the border and protecting the American people. I share his frustration." But at almost the exact moment that that statement landed in our inboxes, the Department of Homeland Security's Twitter account denied the New York Times report. Seems like pretty status quo for this administration. There's word of a shakeup, there's some denial, and there's some not entire denial. So, you know, we'll see. She's not the first Trump administration official to express a desire to leave after being berated by the president, either among colleagues or privately in the Oval Office. But this is the first sign I can recall, at least in recent months, that Secretary Nielsen herself is now concerned about whether or not she should stay on.
All right, Ed O'Keefe at the White House. Ed, thanks very much.
Take care.